How am I supposed to get in with these here? This is completely unacceptable. The bylaws are clear. Mr. Mitchell, you must use street parking effective immediately. The first thing I saw when I opened my door was cold air, flashing amber lights, and a guy in a neon vest drilling into my driveway while the smell of wet asphalt hit me in the face. 22 bright yellow parking bars were lined up like prison bars across my concrete, and their truck was still unloading more. It was 7:12 a.m., my coffee was still inside on the counter, and my car was trapped behind a wall of metal and bolts. The HOA president, Brenda Kensington, in her pink fleece and clipboard, stood on the sidewalk like a traffic cop, smirking. She didn't even look at me when I said, "What are you doing to my driveway?" By noon, I found the letter taped to my front door with blue painter's tape, like a joke. It said the board had voted to reclassify my driveway as shared overflow parking, and that I was banned from blocking it with my personal vehicle. That was the moment the title of this mess formed in my head. HOA built 22 parking bars on my driveway. Then I pulled the permit. They also slapped me with a $150 non-compliance fine for trying to move one of the bars. I walked over to Brenda where she was sipping coffee and said, "Calm down. We can talk about this." She just pointed at the bars and said, "New rules. If you don't like it, move." Neighbors walked by, eyes down, pretending not to hear. I tried the official way first. I emailed the Cedar Ridge HOA board, all 5 of them. I wrote out how I couldn't get my own car out, how my deeds showed that strip was part of my lot. No answer. I went to the next HOA meeting in the clubhouse on May 3, 2024. Fluorescent lights, stale coffee, and folding chairs. When it was my turn, I explained the problem, tried to stay calm. Brenda cut me off and said, "You're being hostile, and this isn't the time." Another board member reminded me I now owed 3 fines, total $450, and said they could tow my car if I parked on the street. After the meeting, one neighbor texted me, "Sorry man, I have kids. Copy on her bad side." That was when I realized everyone was scared of her. The real line in the sand was the night she called the cops on me for stepping over my own driveway bars. Timeline Item 1. April 5th at 4:27 a.m. False trespass call. I had gone out in slippers to check if any bars were loose. And 10 minutes later, a patrol car rolled up, blue lights washing over the yellow metal. The officer looked bored, checked my ID, saw my address match the house, and basically shrugged. But that little incident report? That was my first piece of evidence. I decided right then I was done arguing in circles. No cutting the bars, no blocking the street, no screaming matches. Only boring, proper channels. I lined up photos, emails, and call logs in a binder. Then I drove to City Hall and asked for the subdivision records for our development. The clerk rolled over a fat cardboard file and set it on the counter. The file landed with 63 pages. I sat at a table under flickering lights and flipped through old permits and stamped site plans. There it was. My lot number, my driveway, clearly marked as private property. Required off-street parking for the single-family home. A note in simple bold text said no HOA may interfere with this required parking. The plans also showed a 5-foot setback easement where no permanent structures were allowed. The parking bars were drilled right through that line like darts through a bullseye. Then I saw something even worse for them. By reclassifying my driveway as guest parking, they had messed up the ratio of designated spaces and blocked part of a marked fire lane curve on the cul-de-sac. I started sketching out a list of violations and wrote down every permit number I saw. Patterns of false reports can be prosecuted, I remembered from a little pamphlet on the counter. And I smiled, thinking of Brenda's 4:27 a.m. stunt. My revenge plan was simple and very legal. I sent the board a calm, polite email with the subject, "Request for correction of unpermitted work." I listed each issue: unpermitted construction, obstruction of required parking, violation of setback, interference with fire lane, and harassment. I gave them 7 days to respond and attach scans of the stamped plans. No ranting, just facts. They replied in the HOA app where everyone could see it, calling me dramatic and urging neighbors not to support entitlement. That was exactly what I wanted. I printed that post and added it to my binder. Then I filed an official complaint with City Code Enforcement and Building Inspection, attaching my scans and photos. When the city asked for more detail, I dropped off the whole binder like a homework project from a very angry nerd. The show started 2 weeks later on a bright Saturday at 9 a.m. I heard diesel engines and stepped outside. A white city truck, a fire marshal SUV, and a code enforcement car all rolled into our quiet cul-de-sac, lights flashing but no sirens. Neighbors came out in pajamas holding coffee, phones already up. The inspector walked straight to my driveway, stepped over a parking bar, and asked me to confirm my name. Brenda hurried over, waving her clipboard, saying he couldn't be on our shared common area. He held up the stamped plan I had given them and said, "Ma'am, this is his private driveway. You installed unpermitted obstructions and encroached on a fire lane curve. You have to remove all of this today." He actually laughed when his tape measure showed the bar drilled 2 inches into my side of the lot marker. Someone across the street snorted loud enough for everyone to hear. Code enforcement slapped a bright red violation notice on the HOA bulletin board by the mailboxes. The inspector explained, loud enough for the little crowd, that the HOA faced fines of up to $2,000 per day if they did not remove the bars and restore my driveway to original condition within 10 days. The fire marshal added that blocking turning space like this could cause serious penalties if a truck couldn't reach a house. Brenda's face went from red to pale to red again. Then the police cruiser rolled up. Same officer from 4:27 a.m. He looked at Brenda and said, "We've had more than one questionable call from you. Patterns of false reports can be prosecuted." Neighbors were filming all of it. By that night, the videos were on the neighborhood Facebook group and had hundreds of comments. Roasting the HOA, people started posting screenshots of old petty warnings she'd sent them. The HOA held an emergency meeting 3 days later. I didn't even have to go. The minutes were emailed to everyone. The board voted to use reserve funds to hire a licensed contractor to pull every bar, patch the concrete, and pay the city fines. Line item 1 on the budget: driveway remediation, $10,000. Line item 2, legal consult, because Brenda had tried to act without proper authority. 2 weeks after that, another email came out saying she had resigned for personal reasons. A new, much quieter president was appointed. On a warm evening in June, I stood on my smooth, clear driveway and watched kids ride scooters where the bars used to be. My elderly neighbor, Mrs. Lopez, walked over with a plate of cookies and said, "Thank you for standing up to them. You made it better for all of us." I just smiled and thought about how my real revenge was done with paper and patience, not rage. Please subscribe to HOA Conflicts. Do you think she got what she deserves? Comment below.